Bring to us your poetry from inspiration sought. Come, join us with your images, your verses, words and thought. From here we'll share your balladry with those who do not know it. This platform's here for you to show the world that you're the poet.
Welcome to episode 39 of You're the Poet, the poetry podcast featuring you. I'm host Matt Burgio, and I'm here with co-host Phil Burgio. Phil, welcome.
Thank you.
Here at You're the Poet, our purpose is to share our love of poetry with the world and invite you to do the same. I want to start by saying thank you to all of our listeners who have made You're the Poet possible. We hope you enjoyed the podcast and the poetry that is shared here. Our featured guest for this episode of You're the Poet is Douglas Ray Jaffe with the Douglas Ray Jaffe Project, who is joining us from Birmingham, Alabama. Douglas, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on You're the Poet.
Yeah, we're glad you could join us, and we look forward to your contribution to the episode. To start things off, I'm going to read our classic poem for the episode, and this poem is a little different in that it doesn't fall into the classic realm of poetry. This is a more current poem written by my mother, Linda Burgio. This is the time of year where I'm thinking about my mom. She passed away a few years back in April. And then her birthday is always about a week after Mother's Day. So May is always very special, at least the beginning of May, because I get Mother's Day and my mom's birthday together. And so I thought this episode I'd focus some of the poetry on her. And so she had left this poem before she passed. And so I wanted to share it here on the podcast to be immortalized out there in the interwebs. Phil informs me this is a song in its origin, so I know we'll be talking about some song and poetry later, but I just have this here as a poem. This is Hundreds of Crows. Hundreds of crows, searching for shelter, nowhere to go. Hundreds of trees, cut down for progress, brought to their knees. Hundreds of crows, searching for shelter, nowhere to go. Hundreds of trees, no longer home to the birds and the bees. Linda Burgio. So that one goes out to my mom. That's her poem. She probably wouldn't consider herself a poet at all. That's the only poem of hers that I have. I know she did sing me a song once that does not have actual lyrics, but those are the memories I have of her. So I wanted to share this to get it out there. And Phil, is there anything you want to say about that? Or?
No, I remember her singing it.
I think that the crows that she's talking about are like the unseen and unknown people that we pass by every day on the sidewalk or on the way to the grocery store. Those are the crows.
Crows were her spirit animal. She was into the Native American culture pretty good, and crow was her spirit animal.
I do like that analogy you bring up, though, about the people. And it could be fitting to this poem, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think all poems are due to interpretation and your perspective and your perception.
Oh, yeah, that's the beauty.
When you listen to them, you have thoughts going through your head based on your feelings for that poem.
Definitely.
Yeah, you can have many interpretations. It's the one that fits you.
Definitely. All right, well, from here, we're going to turn over to Phil to share his poem for the episode.
Okay, this poem is based on a true story, except for the last part. Lady in the Purple Gown. The most romantic thing that I have done, it was not with gifts of gold nor gem. A simple act of romantic love, a brief show of what she meant to me. As I trotted up on my old horse to where she worked in the garden plot, in a magic whirl all transformed, oh Billy changed into a knightly mount, my jeans and tee into shining armor, her overalls spun into a purple gown. The garden vegetables and herbs enchantedly became fragrant roses. I reached for her hand, gave it a kiss. Touching her soft, gentle face, I turned and rode off to slay dragons. Philip Burgio. There were no dragons involved.
Well, thank you for sharing. And as I pointed out earlier, I think the slaying dragons does fit into the real world because everything else transformed. Everything from the real world transformed into the magic realm.
Yeah.
And so I interpreted that as the slaying dragons to turning back to work and the everyday life and the things you have to deal with, both as a husband and a father.
Absolutely. I would say that the slaying of the dragons are each individual's problems, whether it's man versus himself or man versus nature or what have you. But he's slaying those dragons that we face every day. constantly.
Agreed.
I like the purple gown, very spiritual, kind of angelic kind of language.
I used to refer to her as my purple Duchess, and that's how I think of her. That was her favorite color, and she was my purple Duchess.
Nice.
All right, from here, I'm going to share my poem for the episode. This is a poem I dedicated to my mom back for her birthday in 1998. It was based off of, now, Douglas, I don't know if you got that picture I sent you, that Voices of Spring, and I forget who the artist is.
I'd have to go back and revisit that.
Oh, that's okay. It's basically a picture of a lodge mother or a native woman looking up to the sky and praying. And it's got various things around her. There's the crow in the tree, a wolf on there howling, and there's the moon coming up in a crescent form. And so I wrote a poem inspired by that card. That was her birthday card for that year.
Okay.
This is called Twilight Praise. I call out to Creator, to Grandfather. My words rise into the air, smoothly, gracefully. The wind, it catches my words and brings them to crow and wolf. Wolf cries out, soothing howls toward the rising moon. The forest, dense and peaceful in the twilight, filled with crows' shrieks. Together they spread my words, my praise. I call out to Creator, as all living things should. I thank Him. I thank Him for my life, my family, my friends, my strength. I thank Him for all He provides for me. Crow and wolf, they also cry out my praise. All will know I thank Grandfather. The moon rises fully. I end my day fulfilled and at peace with myself and Creator. Matthew Burgio.
Very nice.
Thank you. Jeez, man. Making Phil tear up over there.
I think that the creator in the poem is singing the song of the universe, and all the other characters, including the animals, are all singing the creator's song of the universe almost in unison.
Nice. All right, from here, we're going to turn to our guest portion of the episode. Douglas Ray Jaffe, you're the poet. Show us what you've got.
This is really, it's better to see if it was written. The way that it was written was like some of the poets during the 60s and that period that would just write. I guess E. Cummings is one of them that would write with no capitals and no commas and just kind of a run-on poem. And this is about a friend of mine. She was the fifth daughter. I thought I would just talk about this as just some of the people that we met and about her father and about her family. To the fifth daughter. To the fifth daughter who says no man understands her daddy's plans for her. Far away into the country, embedded in yellow and white, do you move differently than Hazel, Daddy, and me? Fate is instant, the head tingles, wiggles about frantically, staying up, standing next, hanging over the ridge of my desire. You're lying, bitching, kicking, witching, 'cause you can't believe your heart is telling you something. Me is for one, Hazel is for two, she is close to me as she is with you. For Hazel, like me, knows the goings-ons of a sweet and sour heartbeat, how it stops and starts, kicking and raging inside, hiding. Older, though, have parted from the emptiest bars, have grown phases of life together that are useless. Hearts cover Fred's face, mother climbs in his space, says who or what or why or whatever, he, she, and it, them, or they do, whoopee whoopee do. Hazel will tell you, perspective, pain and guts go hand in hand. In private they live, loud and clear. Hazel drives me home with little bitty specks of reality, and you don't see me laughing, do you? Only staring and staring inside, never felt better blood, never flowed thicker, heaven was never close to earth, and just a few minutes with you. Hazel likes yellow and white, and Hazel is human, and Hazel is real, and Hazel needs the fifth daughter. A river flowing, two going the same way, better than one going one way and the other going the other. Hazel in a cornerless heart. I see her heart in the ceiling, hanging for the meaning of a misrepresentative soul. And just like that goddamn ghost, the fifth daughter leaves the memory of a lifetime in such a short time. It surrounds my skull, chains my feet, hearts cooked like daddy's did one day you were in your mummy's tummy. he and the rest in man and love. You best gift was mommy daddy's too. Yellow and white representing your soul, and you represent my soul. And Hazel likes yellow and white, for out of darkness comes yellow and white. A busy fret and worry sentimentally becomes greater than its sum. Two kinda hearts, three kinds of three hearts, and so forth, to your heart, to where it falls apart and heals again. My heart's to yours, sharing daddy's dustant vacant dreams. Hazel is writing, daddy must watch the fifth daughter grow, patience and virtue, what fragile battles. But these thoughts are yellow and white, everyone spends the night with their mind. Black as the sea, black and the sky is not black as me when I don't see yellow and white. Tall collecting facts and heavy duty conversations intertwine with all the colors of love, line bitching, kicking, growing up to daddy's tune while the fifth daughter holds the moon in her room. My arms look for you. My mind is a vast majority. Everybody in the other room knows nothing like the bond between a mother and daughter team. Thank God Daddy has two eyes to see one is going to stay and the other's going to leave. Like Hazel before and me and after me, meeting the fifth daughter who's God's child dressed in yellow and white. And dreams, 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 well protected and guarded, defended, splendid, just to be there under your pillow like the tooth fairy between your hard body. Putting 24 years into 18 years, man should not feel like good. For Hazel says good can go to bad, but her twitching hit and common mind says with your heart talks, all other parts of the body must listen. Gotta go. The fifth daughter tolls to dad is told, but love is love, divided by life is life and only life only. Twitching, speaking, and broken, half swallowing phrases tell me daddy knows me like Hazel knows you. I feel for Hazel like you feel for daddy. Father, look farther than yellow and white. He's looking through your blues. Hazel is writing, daddy must watch the fifth daughter grows. And I will not stop her, and fate will not stop her. Daddy will not stop her. The fifth daughter will become her mother with the rainbow of love, shatter every known color, pouring off the pages of your sorrow into my silver cup, my yellow and silver cup. Daddy has his silver cup. Hazel and Mummy will all drink from their silver cup the day your happiness stays fresh in my silver cup, my yellow and white silver cup. Douglas Ray Jaffe.
All right, thank you for sharing. I really like this poem, and like you mentioned with E. E. Cummings, in that I really feel like it hits home with the spoken word poetry.
Right.
I could see you standing up and speaking this, and I don't know if it's always like that, but I like how some of the phrases and words sort of are smashed together in the lines. I know you can't see that here on the.
Well, I think that you've just stumbled across what's meant to be because I'm putting poetry to music for a spoken word category of working on a few songs. So maybe something like that could go where you have music in the background.
Oh, and I think this is wonderful for that. It has that good flow. And I also like what you do with the colors in this, the whole yellow and white and the silver and
I
the
thought
blues.
honeysuckle. So we have honeysuckle down here, and the honeysuckle is either yellow or white. It came into my mind. Plus, you mentioned river in your poem, and after you mentioned that line, I was seeing all the words rush by like a river. Uh, my mind kind of weird sometimes.
Well, we talked about however you're interpreting it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. It's all perspective and perception. Yes. Well, I appreciate that. That's what I was trying to achieve is some kind of a style with a rhythm that was just a little bit different than kind of what maybe most people are out there doing. But yeah, putting poetry to music for the spoken word is definitely something I am seeking out as we speak.
Well, I thought you did a great job with that there.
Tell us about your project.
Well, I like writing songs as well as I wrote a book, I guess a few years ago, and it's a book of lyrics and writings and poems. And I did a CD a long time ago, 1997. But since then, I met the professor of music, Craig Branwin, through a friend of mine, and he's taken on my project, and he is the captain of my ship. We go to different studios around Birmingham and we have professional musicians and professional singers and writers all work at a studio. So these songs, these 75 songs I have, they're all professionally done. Various different kind of eclectic kind of group of people, not pigeonholed to one category, but anywhere from rock and roll to R&B to soul to folk rock and rock and roll and maybe faith-based.
Now, are these all based on lyrics that you have written?
Yes. I wrote all the lyrics to all those.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, that's why it's called the Douglas Ray Jaffe Project.
Yeah.
Matt has a background in music. He has a master's degree in music education. So music is deep in his heart.
Yes, it's fun.
And you mentioned you have a book out with your lyrics and writings. Is that something that's out there and available for people to buy?
Yes, it's called Who is Douglas Ray? Lyrics and Writings and Poems by Douglas Ray Jaffe. Pretty sure you could get that on Amazon or some of the other social media.
Okay, we'll definitely share a link to that. And does your project have a website?
Yes, it's called the Douglas Ray Jaffe Project.com.
All right, we'll definitely share links to all of that so people can find it. I believe I also found you on Facebook. Is there a Facebook page for the project as well, or?
Yes, yes.
Okay, we'll share that too.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Douglas, you got another one for us?
I was in Chicago after I graduated from the University of Alabama with a degree. I thought since I majored in advertising, I'd go be a big shot in Chicago. Of course, I was staying in a hotel that was on Broadway and Belmont that was probably less than $50 a day. So I wrote this poem. It's called Broadway and Belmont. Inside this cold and windy city, my shadow is running away from singing, caring too much, too often. Now I'm walking, the mind on a quiet tribulation, building protection like a wall of steel, just a moody, magical wind sporadically coming and going, with an iron heart chained to a starving mind. Long blocks, vague words, shout out, where across the street on a fence, a bird, like a puppet on a string, sings his part, just his part. And how surrealistic the moon shines, with the echo of two girls' laughter, as they watch drifters crave for laughter on silly little city illusions so benign, like stories and songs beneath sidewalk signs. And as I pass those girls, making my laugh dark and still, leaving it hard to reveal the fallacy. Back late with a new thought, one that is hard, plain, and simple, bringing a private fairness, and silence rushes suddenly, leaving the wind of the north blowing crazy patterns in the grass. Douglas Ray Jaffe.
All right, thank you for sharing.
Good one. I liked it.
You know, I was trying to do a little research when you first sent me this poem because I was like Broadway and Belmont. And when I first think of Broadway, I think of New York. But then I didn't really see a Broadway and Belmont in New York. And I was looking up intersections. And so I saw things like, oh, the Windy City. So I was like, well, maybe Chicago. And so I did find Broadway and Belmont there in Chicago. But I found it interesting that right there on the corner, too, there's a comedy club. And that had me thinking about some of that laughter that you had in there, the girls echoing laughter, people craving laughter. And again, not that that's what you were going for, but just some things that I was thinking about. And I love that line about the wind, just a moody, magical wind, sporadically coming and going with an iron heart chained to a starving mind. I thought that was a great line.
Thank you.
I like Chicago. I spent some time up there.
It's too tough for me.
Now, were you born and raised there in Alabama, or?
I was born and raised,
Okay.
third generation in the junk business, or fourth.
Okay.
So I grew up in the recycling scrap junkyard business.
Your style of reading your poetry early on when you first started the one actually had me thinking of Robert Frost. It's like he almost sounds like Robert Frost when Robert Frost is reading his poetry. Slightly different accent, but that's just what it reminded me of. So kudos to you for that.
Well, thank you.
Frost is a bit of a Yankee.
Well, yeah, for sure. He has that New England accent, but just sounded like that. All right, well, before we move on, Douglas, you have anything else you want to say about poetry or the poetry world and how it works and connects into music or anything? Or?
I say keep reading to the audience out there. Keep reading new and different styles of poetry. At the same time, keep going back 100, 200 years and see what they were reading and talking about. And Always learn.
This Hundreds of Crows, it was like a deviation from what we normally do. We do go back and read the classics.
Yeah, and share those.
Yeah.
All right, well, before we move on, I had one correction that I wanted to make. Don't have any feedback. This is more of a, not really a correction, but just a note from episode 38 with Ryan Morgan. He made note in a joke about the line, gladly live and gladly die, when we were talking about the parting glass. And he wasn't sure if it was Robert Frost or Robert Louis Stevenson. In fact, it was Robert Louis Stevenson from his poem Requiem. It's a short poem, so I'm going to read it real quick. It goes, under the wise and starry sky, dig the grave and let me lie. Glad did I live and gladly die, and I laid me down with a will. This be the verse you grave for me. Here he lies where he longed to be. Home is the sailor, home from the sea, and the hunter home from the hill. Robert Louis Stevenson. So just wanted to make note on that since Ryan said we could call him out on that. So that's the correction for that.
Great poem.
Thank you. That's a great episode. If you haven't listened to any of our episodes, I do recommend the Ryan Morgan ones. He's a joy to hear his poetry.
I'm going to read a poem that we normally don't read at this time, but I think this one is pretty fitting. It's called A Community of Friends. All the poets that I know, write with heart, write with soul. Some create happy, some script sad. And though they be different, they're never bad. It's the passion of the paper and the pen that compel us to write again and again. I'm honored to have poet friends. I hope the friendships never end. From every corner of this earth, I will appreciate their verse and mirth. Philip Burgio. That's in tribute to all our past guests who've been all over the world, different continents and everything too.
Yeah, we definitely made some friendships. And one of the things we try to do here is not just have people on, but also try to create a community of poets.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, and we welcome you now, Douglas, to the Year of the Poet community. You're part of that group now.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, and as we wrap things up, we want to let our listeners know we are grateful that you've taken the time to tune in. We hope you're enjoying the poetry shared here, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with others. If you would like to support You're the Poet and what we're doing here, we have set up a Patreon site at buymeacoffee.com/you'rethepoet. Thank you for your support as we continue to grow. If you've written any poetry and you want to share it here, whether you just have an interest in poetry, consider yourself an amateur poet, or are a professional poet with published works, contact us to be a guest on a future episode. Please check out our website and various social media outlets to keep up to date with You're the Poet. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our website, you'rethepoet.com. Until next time, Phil, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Keep the magic alive.
Douglas, thank you for being our guest.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Goodbye.